Crimson Trace introduces a line of feature-rich world-class rifle scopes. This new line features 8 custom-designed reticles for specific applications, as well as a full lifetime warranty on all scopes. Find out more at crimsontrace.com.
He rode out of Louisiana territory, and with his gun slung low and his microphone held high, he brought truth to a savage land. And the legend grew. Tom Gresham's Gun Talk.
All righty, back with you, Tom Gresham here. Our number is 866 Talk Gun. We're talking about an awful lot of things going on. We're looking for your range reports. If you've been out doing some shooting, or if you bought a new gun. Oh, I bought a, it's not a new gun, but it's new to me, okay? I bought a used gun this week. It's just one of those stupid things you do. I went into a gun store, a little bitty gun store, and I said, hey, you guys got anything interesting used? And they went, yeah, you know, I got this, I got that. I'm looking at the long guns up there, and I looked down in the counter and I said, well, what's that down there? And I said, oh, good eye. All I can see is a muzzle sticking out in the down in the display counter, a cabinet. And it was a used Ruger single action flat top in 44 special. Now, it just so happened that the day before I'd been at a friend's house, and he was showing me several of his 44 specials, Smith & Wesson double actions, as well as Ruger single actions. And I've always kind of had a soft spot in my heart for the 44 special. And this thing was listed at a pretty good price on consignment. And, you know, I mean, you got to dicker a little bit, right? I mean, it was a fair price. I would have paid it. But I said, hey, you know, could you take $25 off of it? He did. And I drove, because I told him, I said, well, you know, let me think about it. So I drove home. I got to my driveway and didn't get out of the car. I just put it in reverse and turned around and drove 20 minutes back to the gun store and said, I am not going to let that gun get away. I drove back and bought it. So now, I haven't shot it yet, but I'm looking forward to it. But it's very cool. All right. Tell you what, we held Kenneth over. He's out of East Texas, and he has an idea of what we need to do to get more people involved in gun rights here. Kenneth, you're on the floor here. What do you got?
Well, I just encourage your listeners to get involved in the 4-H archery and shooting programs in their areas.
Yeah.
If there's not one in your county, specifically in Texas, reach out to the Texas A&M is the outfit that heads that up, and it's a 501c3 nonprofit, and you know, get the kids involved, get your kids involved. I mean, it's a very low cost way to get you know, push back and against these crazy moms that don't think our kids need guns. You know, they need to learn about it and be safe with it.
So, you know, it's an interesting approach where you say, okay, let's build up a new generation of people who are involved in the shooting sport, start them at the 4-H. I have heard, Kenneth, that the 4-H program is the largest youth shooting program in the country.
I wouldn't be surprised. I had no clue about it until a couple of years ago, and found out about a group over in Tyler, north of Tyler, that they've got an outstanding range, very, very knowledgeable folks. And, you know, I'm getting involved with it and have been through my business supporting them. And we're actually doing a drawing. If you'll let me give out the information on that, we're trying to raise money for them.
Do it.
Well, just give me a call, 903-930-2548, if you'd like to win an AR-10. And we've also got a fundraiser for the Harleton Fire Department. We're giving away a custom European Beretta tomorrow on Veterans Day. Again, 903-930-2548. Give me a call, and we'll get you some tickets. They're $10 a ticket, and we are going to definitely, you know, get it to an FFL.
Let me see if I got that number right. 903-930-2548.
Yep. 903-930-2548 is my phone number.
Hey, I appreciate you doing the giveaway stuff. The raffles are great, and doing stuff for veterans is really important. Look, I got to run. I appreciate the call, Kenneth. Thank you so much. I do appreciate that. By the way, we are running up on Veterans Day here tomorrow, 11/11. Yeah, by the way, it's my birthday. So just thank you to all the veterans out there. We very, very much appreciate everything that you do and have done for us. All right. Now, I'll tell you what. It's a real pleasure to bring in Joe Bartozzi, he is the president of the National Shooting Sports Foundation. Talk about an outfit that does all sorts of programs, many of them that you have not heard of, unfortunately, because they're so involved and so widespread. Joe, how are you, sir?
Hey, Tom, great. Thanks very much for having me.
Absolutely. And, you just heard our caller. There are people everywhere across the country trying to do things to raise awareness, raise funds, get involved in kids shooting programs. And all these programs are important because it's like people say, well, what can I do? Well, my answer is you can do everything. We have to do all these things. And frankly, NSSF, National Shooting Sports Foundation, which is the trade association, it is, well, you can explain it better than I can. When people ask you, what is this group, what do you tell them?
Right. We represent the manufacturers of firearms, ammunition, accessories. We represent distributors and retail dealers in particular. Have quite a few retail dealers all around the country. And we're their voice. We're the voice on Capitol Hill. We've got folks in covering all 50 states to make sure their voice is heard at the state legislature on Capitol Hill regarding rights. And we represent jobs, represent taxes. And it's important that we get out there and let people know in these state legislatures why what we do is important for this country.
Do we know, do you know offhand, how big is the firearms industry, either in dollars or in people employed?
Yeah, that's a great question. Right now, the last study that I saw indicated that we're about a $52 billion industry. So while not a small industry, it's certainly not the automotive industry, right, for example. But $52 billion represents quite a bit of jobs and, again, tax dollars for these states. And we make that known to people. Hey, you know what? We are an important part of the community. Our friends and neighbors work in the industry in one capacity or another. We know somebody who does. And, they're good people, and they ought to be heard.
Well, exactly right. Now, some of the stuff that NSSF has done, people don't know about. The Fix NICS program. I just talk about basically improving the background check system. What was that about?
Exactly. What we saw about 5 years ago or so, we had seen a trend where states were simply not putting in the disqualifying mental health records into the NICS database. And just to kind of put that into context, the states were supposed to be putting in mental health records. For example, if you were involuntarily committed, then that information was supposed to go into the NICS database. And we found that several states were not doing that, and frankly, some still are not doing that. So we launched a campaign 5 or 6 years ago, and in that time, the industry, not the government, not anybody else, not the anti-gun groups, but the gun industry has changed the law in 16 different states. And why is that? To get those records, by the way, into the system. So why is that important? So when someone goes to a gun shop to buy a firearm, that dealer is the first line of defense against a bad purchase or a bad guy getting a gun. Without those records in the system, that check is not complete, and it may not be correct. So what we're saying is, look, we know the ATF has certain disqualifying factors. That's what we care about, to make sure that someone who's not supposed to get a gun doesn't get a gun. And we saw this thing in Sutherland Springs. That guy was disqualified, yet those records were not in the system.
From the Air Force.
So, yeah, and that's when we started pushing at the federal level, and we got that law into effect, Fix NICS, on a national level about a year or so ago.
Well, it's interesting. You say the gun store, the gun retailer, is the first line of defense to make sure that people who are not supposed to buy guns are not able to buy guns. And if you have the database correct, that's where you can stop it. Hey, Joe, hold on just a second. I'm going to take a quick break. We're talking with Joe Bartozzi. He's the president of the National Shooting Sports Foundation, NSSF.org. If you want to see some of these incredible programs they have going there, we'll talk about some of those when we come back. If you'd like to join us, 866-TALK-GUN. I'm Tom Gresham. This is Gun Talk. Used guns can be a great value, but you have to know who you're buying from. What if you could buy quality used guns with a lifetime warranty from the Internet's largest online reseller? That's what you get at Dewey'sGuns.com. They stand behind every firearm purchase for life. If you have a problem, they'll either fix or replace your gun. Pistols, rifles, shotguns, and more. Check out their inventory today at dirtysguns.com.
Visit guntalk.com/win for your chance to win the Fall-A-Day giveaway. Grand prize package includes a gun safe, a 9mm handgun, a .308 rifle, a thermal rifle scope, a package of holsters, and a shooting system for training, plus 3 first prize packages. Prizes provided by Alien Gear Holsters, ATN Optics, Federal Premium Ammunition, Liberty Safe, Mantis, and Ruger. Enter now through December 13th at guntalk.com/win.
You got your carry permit, and that's good. But you know you could use more training. Get the DVDs, which have what you need. Springfield Armory presents Concealed Carry 1 and Concealed Carry 2 with Bata Group. Learn specific concealed carry skills from Top Gun fighting trainers. Get trained. Be prepared. This really is life and death. ShopGunTalk.com. That's ShopGunTalk.com.
This is Jeff with Black Hills Ammunition. Shooters looking for ultimate performance in 300 blackout will be pleased with our new 110 grain tip TSX load. This round performs well through tough barriers such as car doors and windshields, making it a great choice for police patrol rifles. It also provides superior performance on whitetails and monster hogs. This round is a great all-around terminal performer. Black Hills Ammunition, the power of performance.
Back with Tom Gresham here. We're talking with Joe Bartozzi from the National Shooting Sports Foundation, and I have to own up right now. I'm learning more and more. I always thought I knew a lot about the NSSF. I mean, I've been a member for many years, been going to the SHOT Show forever, since it began, because the NSSF puts on the SHOT Show. But a little bit, almost a year ago, I was elected to the board of directors of NSSF, and that's when I really started finding out all the things to do. Joe, NSSF is involved in a lot of things that people don't know about, and I'm sure it frustrates you at times. You're thinking, hey, we're already there. The gun industry is already doing some of this stuff, right?
Oh, absolutely. There are so many things that we're involved in that end up behind the scenes because we're a trade association and not an individual member type organization, that sometimes it gets a little bit lost in what's happening, but certainly behind the scenes, we're doing an awful lot. I just want to touch on one of your previous callers talking about the 4-H program. It's a great program. We've been a supporter of that program for many years, but, you know, it ties in beautifully with the +1 movement that NSSF has started. And just, you know, people talk about getting involved in the shooting sports. We had a goal in the first year of rollout of the +1 to get 100,000 people pledge to take someone hunting or shooting for the first time. Okay. And we thought that was a good goal and a stretch goal. And we are not quite 1 year into it, and we had 600,000 people take the pledge.
So you're at 600% of your goal, and you're not even there at 1 year yet.
Exactly. The point is there's a real appetite for people that want to learn more about hunting and the shooting sports. I went over to the range last weekend. I took 2 new shooters with me out to show them how to shoot shotgun for the first time, and we could barely get a spot. I mean, the place was mobbed. So I was so happy to see that yes, we've had this +1 program. We're marketing it, we're advertising it, but there is a real appetite out there for people that want to learn hunting and shooting, and we're so happy to be a part of that. So there's that. And then, of course, most importantly right now for us is we've got this Real Solutions campaign, which really ties together the safety and security programs that we've been working on, some of them for 20 years, to keep guns out of the wrong hands. So we're making people aware that what you're seeing in the media and what you're hearing by some of the anti-gun politicians and candidates for president, frankly, is that they're making the gun industry out to be the villain, when in fact we are supporting programs with our dollars that keep guns out of the wrong hand, that prevent accidents, that prevent suicide, that prevent straw purchases, and all this stuff is flying under the radar, but it really is having an effect. Accidents at the lowest point in over 100 years. So that is something we're very, very proud of.
Yeah, let me repeat that. Accidental firearms deaths are at the lowest point, not the rate. I want people to understand, not the rate, the actual number We have tens of millions more people, and yet the actual number of accidental gunshot deaths is at its lowest point that it's been in 100 years. Murders with guns are down. Murders are down by half. Crime with guns are down by 70%. So there is no epidemic of gun violence if you're cutting it in half. And then here's NSSF. The actual gun makers have programs in gun stores to teach retailers how to spot straw purchases, illegal purchases, and what to do about that, what to look for. And the other part is, Joe, I think people don't know how much the gun industry, particularly NSSF, works hand in hand with ATF on these programs.
Right. We've got two programs. One you described was we call Don't Lie for the Other Guy, and that's about since 2000. We were in partnership with the ATF, and we've been going strong. We did 2 launches this year, one in Detroit and one down in Baltimore. And there is a program that we work together to educate dealers about how to spot these straw purchases. The other one, which is a program that we're really hitting our stride now, has been about 3 years in the making, but it's called Operation Secure Store. And again, partnering with ATF, we're going in, we have consultants that go all around the country and teach retailers how to secure their stores against burglaries and how to protect themselves against robberies, which, of course, is a burglary with force, very dangerous scenario. And we had one member of ours who's building a new retail establishment. He called our guys in the design phase of his construction so that he can start building in some of these things that we're teaching on to prevent burglaries and robberies. So it's really an impressive program that's really just hitting its stride, and we're very, very happy to see this partnership bloom and develop with the ATF on this one.
You kind of got a one-stop shopping place. You got a website, nssfrealsolutions.org. One of the things that, and I was there for the very first one, the Project Child Safe, 20 years old now. The first one was in Baton Rouge, Louisiana. I was there with Richard Lipsey. And I guess today we, being the firearms industry, have given away 38 million gun safety kits, which means 38 million free gun locks, working with the local police departments in all these cities.
That's right. We've got now a total of about 15,500 law enforcement and community partners all over the country and the territories, and the U.S. territories. And you're right, 38 million safety kits. I think the thing is, the lock is very, very important, which means people can start using this lock immediately to secure their firearms when they're not being used. The other part of the package, though, in that safety kit, is a description of other types of locking devices that might be more appropriate for their particular situation, whether they have children or don't have children, whether they want to have physical security or quick access. There's all types of things that we provide information on, approximate cost and how they would work to secure their firearms. So it's all about education, and as you say, the lock as well is something they can use immediately when they leave the Project Child Safe event.
The National Shooting Sports Foundation, it is the gun industry. It's gun makers, it's gun sellers, retailers. One of the things, Joe, that has been monstrously frustrating for me, and I know it is for you, because you're not just at NSSF. You've been in the gun business. You've been in the business of making guns. You were at Mossberg for many years. You have lived this world. And for the media and for the gun control, I call them the gun ban industry, to proclaim that we don't care. We don't care if children are murdered. We don't care if guns are misused, when we're spending millions upon millions of dollars to try to correct, and we're actually having great success, and we're making strides on this. It is maddening to have people say, you guys just don't care.
Well, it's more than maddening, Tom. It is disgusting. It's disgraceful. It's slanderous. We live in these communities. You think that we don't care what happens in our communities? We want the same thing as everybody else wants. We want safer communities. We want people to stop misusing firearms. We might have a different approach. We don't talk about bans because bans, first of all, they're unconstitutional. They don't work. We believe there are solutions. If we have a seat at the table, we can talk about some of these things, like fixed NICS, for example, where there are prohibiting records that are being put in the system. Since we've gotten involved in fixed NICS, the prohibiting records have gone up 241%. That's millions of more records in the database to prevent people who have been committed for being mentally ill from getting a firearm.
Well,
that's real solution.
To put a fine point on it, we don't want prohibited people to get guns illegally. I mean, we want the same thing they want. It's just that we actually have a way to make it happen. We actually have projects and solutions that work.
They don't like our solutions because we don't talk about limiting people's rights. We don't talk about taking guns away from people, that drives them crazy. We tell them, look, there are things we can do here and that we are doing here that actually have an effect, that have a positive effect without infringing anybody's rights. But that drives them crazy, and that's why we haven't been invited to sit at the table with some of these folks.
Yeah,
it really is disgraceful.
I do want to I'm going to make my sales pitch right now. If you're in the gun business, if you're a gun store especially, you need to belong to the National Shooting Sports Foundation, because this is the organization that is fighting to protect your rights. But more than that, Joe, it's also an organization that can help you be better at your business, because that's the other part of what NSSF does. So every gun store needs to belong to NSSF.
Well, yes, we have also awesome information about how to be more competitive in your business, but we also offer programs like, for example, what happens, God forbid, there's a high-profile shooting in your community and someone sticks a camera in your face or a microphone under your nose. We have training as to how to articulate properly the positions that the industry is taking and the good deeds that the industry is doing. So it's a lot more than, yes, it's business sense for sure, inventory control, ATF regulatory compliance. We have all those, but we also have media training for retailers to help them in the event the unthinkable happens.
There you go. Joe, I got to scoot. National Shooting Sports Foundation, you go to nssfrealsolutions.org or nssf.org. You can find out. Everybody's going to be amazed at how many programs you have going. It's just really something. Thank you so much for being here.
Hey, thank you very much, Tom. Hey, go to gunvote.org to see what the candidates' positions are on guns. We've got this big program on gun vote. Don't forget to check that out as well.
Excellent. Gunvote.org, because we all need to be gun voters. I will tell you, that's my issue. I vote strictly on the basis of that. People say, well, what about, no, there's no other there. Joe Bartozzi from the National Shooting Sports Foundation, thank you so much. Again, the outfit that puts on the SHOT Show. Great outfit. In fact, we're going to have more information about what's going on with gun rights in the courts and otherwise in just a second. You need to stay up on this stuff. This is interesting. We'll be right back.
Honey, does this holster make me look fat?
The right answers to the tough questions on Tom Gresham's Gun Talk.
Just when you think it can't get any weirder, any more twisted, you have a new story pops up. And we just had a big win in court in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, and then we turn around and we have the mayor declaring war against the judge who decided the case. It is so bizarre. Joining us to describe what happened here and what is going on right now, Joshua Prince is with the Prince Law Firm. Joshua, thank you for joining us.
My pleasure, Tom. Anytime.
Okay, so first of all, the case itself. Describe what it was and what just happened.
So earlier this year, the city of Pittsburgh passed several new laws that prohibited, among other things, what they termed to be assault weapons, high-capacity magazines, and then also passed a red flag order provision. And as a result, a number of organizations retained me, Firearm Owners Against Crime, Firearms Policy Coalition, Allegheny County Sportsmen's League, and we filed court challenges to these new ordinances.
Okay, let me jump in, because when they passed this law in Pittsburgh, they knew it was that doing so was a violation of the state preemption laws. They knew what they were doing was actually a violation of the law, right?
You're absolutely correct. And we actually have articles that we attached as exhibits to our complaint where the different city council members stated to the media that they knew they couldn't do this and were going to do it anyway.
Okay.
So they went forth and enacted these ordinances in direct violation not only of our statutory preemption, but in Pennsylvania, we have case law from the Pennsylvania Supreme Court that also suggests preemption exists under our Constitution, under Article 1, Section 21 of the Pennsylvania Constitution. So we challenged on both fronts.
Okay, so you go to court, you argue the case, you get this decision. Describe what happened with this decision.
So, well, first, what's interesting is Everytown Law actually sends their lawyers to help the city defend against these our
really,
challenges.
the Bloomberg gun ban group, every town sends its lawyers.
Yes, there were 8 attorneys for the city of Pittsburgh litigating the matter at oral argument.
Holy cow.
And so we were successful in challenging these ordinances where Judge James of the Allegheny County Court of Common Pleas struck down all 3 ordinances in their totality.
Basically just saying, yes, this is the law in the state of Pennsylvania. Cities, it's preemption law. Cities cannot pass their own gun control law. You knew that beforehand. They had to expect that this was going to be the ruling. They had to expect it.
Yes, and city council members and the mayor even acknowledged that they expected that to be the ruling. Yet they're planning to appeal in the hopes that the Pennsylvania Supreme Court will be judicially active. And that isn't just something I'm suspecting or think. It's not a hypothetical. The one city council member actually stated that specifically to a reporter, that she is hopeful that the PA Supreme Court will be just judicially active.
Right. In fact, she said, if there's not a political will to make change, then we're ready and willing to make changes through the court system. In other words, we will get the courts to overturn the will of the people. Okay, but, look, appealing a case, that's normal, that's natural, that's kind of what you expect. But it was actually this other action on the part of the mayor that goes beyond the pale on this one.
I agree. We learned of the fact that Mayor Peduto, as well as the county executive officer Fitzgerald, were planning to file an ethics complaint against Judge James because of his ruling in this case. And that was extremely disconcerting. And as such, we put out a blog article to let everyone know that they were planning to take this action. They were actually going to do it through a third person so they could have some plausible deniability. But because of the fact that we were able to get that information out immediately to the public, I understand they were quite upset and now realize that they can't move forward with it.
They got caught in this case absolutely red-handed because they were seeking revenge against a sitting judge who ruled against them, who upheld the law. I mean, this is not the first time this has been upheld in the state, so we already knew that this wasn't going to go anywhere, but they were so determined to overturn the will of the people and get an activist judge to do this, and when he wouldn't do that, when he followed the law, they declared war on him, and they were going to do this surreptitious, behind-the-back ethics complaint against him, but they got caught. So where does it stand now?
As of right now, we haven't heard anything more, and the information I've received is that both the mayor and the county executive Fitzgerald realize that they can't move forward with it because of the fact that the public's now aware of it. So I don't believe any ethics complaint or other action now will be taken against Judge James, and now we just simply await to hear whether the city is going to appeal Judge James's order.
Joshua, it seems to me, I'm just thinking about, people say, well, yeah, that's great, but gee, how would you even know that this is going on? And I keep encouraging people to be active, not just join, but be actively involved with their state gun rights group or groups, if there's more than one, wherever they live, because that's the people who actually know what's going on in these cases.
Exactly, and I would second that. It is extremely important to join up with the local grassroots organizations that are defending on a daily basis your right to keep and bear arms. And in this case, we did have Firearm Owners Against Crime, which is that entity here in Pennsylvania, as well as the national entity Firearms Policy Coalition, that both stepped up to the plate and said, we won't have this happening.
The other part of it is, and you mentioned Bloomberg's group coming in and flooding this event, this case with lawyers. We don't have Bloomberg billions, but we do need money. It takes money, and I've been saying before you got on today, I said, look, if you care at all about this, you got to go throw $100 at this somewhere in your state group or somewhere. And people say, well, that's a lot of money. And my comeback to that is, go look in your gun safe and tell me what it's worth, and tell me what it's worth to keep it.
Right.
I mean, it's like,
right.
Okay, but if you could get 1,000 people, I'm just throwing numbers out here. If you get 1,000 people to throw $100 in, you could do a lot on the legal front with $100,000.
I completely agree. And again, at least here in PA, we are very lucky to have an organization like Firearm Owners Against Crime that is doing that work, and they are constantly at the Capitol trying to protect our rights at the state level. So it's very important, and I'm cognizant of the fact that money doesn't grow on trees. I do a lot of pro bono work myself because these issues are very near and dear to my heart, but unfortunately there are costs associated with it, and Bloomberg has all the money in the world to throw at fighting, our rights and impairing our inalienable rights.
But what you just did shows that we can fight and we can win, but the first thing you have to do is know about it, and then you got to show up, right?
Exactly right. And too frequently we see individuals can't be bothered not only to give donations to organizations defending their rights, but to even just show up to rallies and events so that our political establishment realizes how important these issues are to us.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for what you're doing. Do me a favor. I know this is going to be an ongoing case. Would you keep us posted? We'll get you back on whenever there's some news, okay?
My pleasure, Tom. You have a nice day.
All right. You take care. PrinceLaw.com or blog.princelaw.com if you want to know more about that. Fascinating case. Incredible that the mayor would turn around and try to unseat a sitting judge by having someone else, a third party, file ethics complaints against him. That's sneaky, dishonest, disingenuous, and totally in character with some of these clowns. 866-TALK-GUN.
Want your next gun purchase to be fast and hassle-free? Well, at galleryofguns.com, you can search through thousands of models from our huge firearms inventory. Find a great offer from a local dealer that includes all fees and taxes. And there's no need to arrange a transfer. Gallery of Guns takes a small deposit on your credit card, and your gun will be at your chosen dealer in as little as 48 hours. Plus, your gun will be covered by our guaranteed lifetime replacement warranty. GalleryofGuns.com. Search, find, buy. It really is just that easy.
This land, once wild and free, fades now from our memory. But I remember what it was like, what we were like, what we are capable of when we band together. Perhaps more than any other landscape, wetlands embody the life-giving abundance that nature has to offer. And perhaps more than any other organization, Ducks Unlimited is working to ensure that our continent's wetlands not only survive, but thrive for generations well beyond this one. These natural wonders are where waterfowl begin their cycle of life, where the deer and the antelope play, and where we, the people, gather together to see and share what makes the outdoors so great. The time is now to band together with organizations like Ducks Unlimited. The time is now to rescue our wetlands.
Are you looking for a place to shoot? The National Shooting Sports Foundation has a great website called wheretoshoot.org. It's the largest database of shooting ranges on the internet. It's also a great resource for shooters where you can find video tips, printable targets, and a lot more. Find it online at wheretoshoot.org. And while you're there, download their free iPhone app. That's wheretoshoot.org.
Again, Oklahoma passed constitutional carry, which is a good thing. And two contrasting stories I have to relay to you. Very interesting. First of all, let me back up. Constitutional carry means you do not have to have a permit to carry a gun for self-protection. Okay? Anybody, any person who can legally have a gun can carry a gun for personal protection. Okay. So, they did it again. And I am going to go ahead and offend people. Some people are going to be offended by this. I don't care. Because you need to wake up to what's going on here. Some of the open carry jackasses showed up at a restaurant carrying their rifles over their shoulders. They went into a Twin Peaks restaurant. Frightened the patrons there. You do not convince people that you're a good person by scaring them. When you scare people, they want you to go away. They want to not see you again, and they will do what it takes to make sure you're not allowed in there again. And it happened again. And yes, I choose my words carefully. The open carry jackasses showed up with their long guns over their shoulders, and the restaurant chain immediately went to a no-gun policy. Oh, gee, why would they do that? Oh, gee, can we think about it being Twin Peaks? Do you remember 2015 in Waco when they had a big shootout in the parking lot of a Twin Peaks restaurant? 9 people were killed. They might be just a little sensitive to the gun issue. Now, if you'd gone in there wearing your handgun, not causing a ruckus, not calling attention to yourself, because this is the whole look at me, aren't I cool movement. And then they'll push back and say, well, but we're going to normalize gun carry. No, you're not. It's not working. That's not how you do it, because you don't look sympathetic. You don't look like good guys. You look like scary idiots. Jackasses. Yeah, I know. They're thinking, oh, they're posting right now. That Gresham, he's an anti-gun rights guy. Yeah, okay, go for it. Bite off as big a chunk as you want. Bless your heart. Now, at the same time, yeah, Jim says, you want to normalize guns? Invite somebody to go to the range with you. Bring new people into the shooting sports. At the same time, another story out of Oklahoma with the brand new constitutional carry. Just saw this. They had the Wanamaker gun show. It's actually, I think, maybe going on this weekend in Tulsa. Biggest gun show in the world. A fellow who's there, goes there every year from England, from Britain, right? And he's with a buddy of his who's local. And his buddy says, hey, we have constitutional carry now. He says, really? They've been out to the range. He said, well, here, you can have my loaner 38 special, which, oh yeah, by the way, if we had universal background checks, that would be illegal to loan your buddy a pistol for the weekend. So he loans his British buddy his revolver. His buddy, the fellow from England, goes up to his hotel room on the 3rd floor, walking down the hall, and there's a guy there who starts approaching him clearly with malice on his mind. And the guy from England, you're going to love this, how this works out. He just slides his hand into his shoulder bag and puts it and holds on to his revolver and never pulls it out. And he said the guy just stopped in his tracks and didn't move. He clearly knew this guy was holding on to a handgun of some sort in his bag. He just locked up. And the English fellow walked around him, walked down the hallway, kept an eye on him, went into his room. No problem. Yeah, oh yeah. And the guy from England is legal to constitutionally carry in Oklahoma. That's how it's supposed to work. That's how it works so often. It's amazing. And oh yeah, by the way, no police reports were filed. This was reported on YouTube from a guy who is very credible. I believe every bit of it. This happens all the time. The reports are, it happens 4,000 to 6,000 times a day. And people say, well, if it were happening that much, you'd be reading about it. You're not going to read about this. All this guy did was put his hand on his gun. The bad guy understood he had a pistol, and they came to a quick understanding, and there was no crime committed. No police report, no news report. Thousands and thousands of times a day in the U.S., people save their lives, stop crime, or prevent a crime because they had a gun. And oh yeah, if you're one of those open carry jackasses, I just want to ask you, how's it working for you? When you get these no-gun signs put up and change them to a no-gun policy, that's not good. That's not effective. You are not helping, okay? Disagree? Call me, 866-TALK-GUN. Hey, just a few minutes, we're going to be talking about hunting bullets. Cartridges, certainly, but bullets. How have bullets changed? Projectiles changed over the last 10, 20 years, and how has that changed what you should be carrying or thinking about carrying when you go afield hunting? Now, here's a question for you. Going back to my previous discussion of the open carry guys carrying their rifles into a restaurant, trying to, quote-unquote, normalize that action. My position is it simply frightens people, and they don't want to see you. And so they like it when a store puts up the no gun sign. You forced this company, who was neutral, to put up no gun signs. So my question for you is this. You're a gun person. You're listening to Gun Talk. You're sitting in a restaurant. You got your family with you. Maybe you're concealed carrying. And 3 dudes walk in wearing their boonie hats and carrying ARs and AKs over their shoulders. Probably got their handgun in a sock holster, because it seems like all the open carry guys have crummy POS holsters. Anyway, these guys walk in wearing their rifles. What's your reaction? How will you react? How will you, a gun person, view these people? Are you going to say, cool, open carry activists, man, got rifles, sweet, parading around, making sure they get a lot of attention for themselves? Or are you going to keep an eye on them and say, I don't know what's going on here, but I don't like it? Or are you going to be even more proactive and say, honey, get up and come with me, we're leaving right now? I've actually had people say, if I saw people walking into the restaurant carrying their ARs, I would probably leave, but I would certainly be ready to draw on them. Unintended consequences. INTOT. I never thought of that. I know that a lot of the open carry guys get mad at me. And look, I've done open carry. I get that. There are times when you want to open carry, but not your long gun. Not in a restaurant. Not in a mall. And there are those who say, well, would you have had Rosa Parks sit in the back of the bus? No, completely different deal, I think. It's really a case of, and I always come back to this, is it a winning tactic? Is it a winning technique? Do you think you are winning public support by doing this? Because this is all a battle for public support. We need to have more people on our side. Do you think that coming in and scaring the dickens out of people makes them want to support you? If you do, I think you have a screw loose. I think you haven't talked to any of these people. I just, I have a problem with stupidity, and that ranks really high on the stupid list of what actually works and what doesn't. In fact, I think it plays into the hands of the gun ban people. They can point to you guys and say, look at these guys. This is what you get when they talk about constitutional carry. I just think you're screwing it up for the rest of us. I really do. I'm going to also return to, I've had several people responding already saying, well, what are you talking about when you talk about, how competent are you? I don't know. You don't know how competent you are. How would you know if you're any good? How would you know if you actually prepared? Because here's the deal. When the test is given, it's going to be a pop quiz. You're not going to know it's happening when you need your gun. And it's a pass-fail. It's not a grading system. Pass-fail means you live or you die. Your family lives or dies. Somebody gets hurt, they don't get hurt. Wouldn't you want to study up? Wouldn't you want to take all the classes you can? Wouldn't you want to practice a lot? Wouldn't you want to become good at awareness, avoidance, and then action, be able to draw quickly, shoot well, get your family to cover? How would you do that? Well, you go get training to do that. You spend dollars, you spend money, you spend time. It's only your life. It's only the lives of your family. What's important about that? Hey, when we come back, we'll talk full dance.